Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for Championship Preview Round 13. The grind continues. We are going Saturday midweek all the way through to 1 week before Christmas. The first game of this crazy run happened at the weekend, and we're now getting right in there in what's probably going to be a pivotal run, really, in terms of where everybody's going to sit going into that new year. Please, as ever, get your predictions down there in the comments. We need to give a shout out to our friends, the Donovan brothers, who are our fan sponsors for the preview show, in loving memory of their late brother, Michael Donovan of South East London, who was a lifelong Millwall fan and admirer of this show. Thank you once again to the Donovan boys for the support and the sponsorship. As I said, I need you to get your predictions in the comments. Remember, over this period, we'll review it in the new year. These shows are going to be pre-recorded, so I do apologise you can't do this live with me. Right, let's get into it then. Another round, another 12 games. We're going to do all of them. Quick apology. When I'm doing this sometimes, I do forget a game. There's lots going on. I forgot QPR Watford at the weekend. I really, really do apologise. I'd done the notes. I had the goals ready in the software, and I missed it. So I've written them all down. Again, I had them written down then. So I will do all 12. That's the intention anyway. And if I do ever forget one, please just politely let me know in the comments. Right, there are our fixtures. Luton versus Birmingham, QPR versus Rotherham, Stoke versus Norwich, Wycombe versus Huddersfield, Preston versus Blackburn, Barnsley, Brentford, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest. That is the Sky game tonight. There will be no watch along tonight. I will be on tomorrow night, however, doing Bristol City, Watford. I'm on Blue Monday podcast duty doing Hull, Ipswich. So I'm on League One duty tonight. Tomorrow night, we have Millwall, Reading, Middlesbrough v Derby, Coventry versus Cardiff, Swansea versus Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol City versus Watford. As ever, we will go from the top downwards, which means Norwich versus Bournemouth. Norwich visit to Stoke is our first game there. And if I bring that up, you will see that it is first against seventh. However, a peculiar load of results could actually see Stoke climb right up the table if they do get a win. Let's have a look at the form. It's very, very good for Norwich. I think, 6 wins, 2 draws in the last 8. We were looking for signs of sustainability at the start of that run, where you look, red cards for opponents, late wins, etc., etc. Those signs have come, and so has the form of Emi Buendia. And Norwich have a lot of injuries. And I was chatting to somebody about this yesterday, and I genuinely think as long as it's Buendia that doesn't get injured, like obviously if their entire team gets injured, you know what I'm saying though. The idea now that he has stayed and he has apparently now hit something like normal Buendia form really can just carry Norwich forward, can't it? A good win for them away at Borough at the weekend. According to some Norwich contacts of mine, not the most convincing. Obviously, the Borough missed penalty was a little bit of luck that went in Norwich's favour, but they'll argue that Teemu Pukki fell over against Derby, didn't he, and missed a penalty. So exactly the same thing happened to them earlier in the season. I believe McLean is now injured, but he didn't start in that last game. Indeed, shall we have a look and see who did for Norwich? So it's Hanley's stepped up and stepped in. Look, Zimmerman on the bench, still playing a midfielder at left back. They do still have the excellent Tim Krill in goal, however, don't they? Hugill started the last game. Pukki came on and scored, so expect Pukki to start. But yes, a lot of injuries there for Norwich. A few long-term ones. Dowell, Hernandez, Mumba, who'd come back in and looked like he was going to get a go, then got injured, and now McLean as well. So if you look on the bench, you're starting to see now, look, Barden, McClare, Martin, youngsters starting to populate the bench. But I still maintain that if they keep on the pitch, Krul, Aarons, Buendia and Pukki, and the rest of the team's competent, they've got a chance in any game in this division. So yes, lots of injuries, but I'm sure if you said to most Norwich fans, you injure 3 Norwich kind of first team guys, or you injure Buendia, I'm sure they'd take the 3 other sort of first team guys. I know that's a weird sort of comparison to make, but you know what I am saying. Stoke, we just saw their form is decent, actually. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in the last 6 for Stoke. And obviously, Tyrese Campbell in really, really good form for them. We spoke about him in our video that started the season, didn't we? This is a tight one to call. Yes, the Norwich injuries are a factor, but if they can still line up with Krul, Aarons, Buendia, Pukki, all the way goalkeeper and down that right up to the front, I think they'll be able to get away here without defeat, despite Stoke looking like they're in good form. I still think I think Stoke will finish in the playoffs, but I think they're just going to be in that tier below the 3 relegated teams. So I'm going to go for a draw in this one, which I think both teams would probably be reasonably happy with, to be honest. Norwich keep pushing on with their decent run. And I think for both of them, get this fixture done, and wins in other games would be something they would be happy with. So go for a draw in that one. First, sitting on the fence of this video for me. Let's go on next, and we got to talk about Bournemouth, who got themselves into, well, they got themselves temporarily top, didn't they, at the weekend with that amazing comeback victory over Reading, coming back from 2 down at half-time to hit 4 goals in the second half. They're going to play Nottingham Forest. This is on TV tonight on Sky, 8 p.m. kickoff. As I said earlier in the video, I will not be doing a watch-along for this one. I'm on Blue Monday duty doing Ipswich Town versus Hull. You can see Bournemouth up in second. Back-to-back wins there. Good start. And a nice little tweak by Jason Tindall in that game at half-time. So everyone will be confident at Bournemouth, won't they? Forest went off to Barnsley and had a defeat there. That had been on the back of 2 straight victories. You can see there against Wycombe and Coventry. I do think Forest are going to come good, but they might have to be patient. And look at that, Bournemouth and then Swansea in the next 2 games. Bournemouth, well, they've been a while there, look, without many, 1 win in 5, in fact, with all of those draws in there. You can factor in they played Watford and Bristol City in that run. But, I mean, look, they've also beaten Norwich and beaten Reading, who have been up in the top 6 all season, haven't they? I think Bournemouth are probably going to have too much for Forest in this one. Some idea that Houghton doesn't quite know the first 11 yet that he's going to be using. I mean, that's understandable, isn't it? He's still early into his tenure there, and obviously got that massive squad at Forest. I don't suspect we'll see Guerrero. He seemed to miss a few chances up top in the game for Forest against Barnsley. Not sure on the status of Josh King. Let me know in the comments. I know he was isolating, wasn't he? So whether Bournemouth have options there. But David Brooks looking very good for Bournemouth in the previous game as well. So look, I'm going to go for Bournemouth to keep up that good home record and a home win for Bournemouth. I do think Forest will come good, like I said, but I think their fans may have to be a little bit more patient. It might be in a couple of games' time. Right, next up, and we've got two top 7 clashes. Obviously, we've dealt with Norwich and Stoke already. Bristol City versus Watford is a really excellent one because you will see when I click a couple of buttons, this is a Wednesday night watch along, in fact, so I'm really looking forward to this one, that it is 3rd versus 5th. And you can see I'm not allowed to call him Streaky Dean after years of calling Lee Johnson Streaky Lee, but you can see a bit streaky is already Bristol City winning the first 4 and then nothing in the next 5 in terms of wins and then 3 straight wins there. Watford, a bit disappointing actually. They only have 2 wins in the last 5. Yes, they are not losing, but still a sense they haven't quite hit their stride. And at the moment, it feels like they're kind of well organised, obviously have really good squad, but not quite clicking yet. Although I am holding them to a high standard. Look, 7 points in the last 3 is decent, very decent, in fact. So you know what I'm saying, don't you? It is still, however, 2 wins in the last 6 when you wind it out to the bigger picture. In terms of Bristol City, yes, they do have 3 straight victories. However, Huddersfield, Cardiff, Derby would all be bottom half opponents. And then you look previously, Norwich, Bournemouth, Middlesbrough, Swansea, a difficult run. They didn't get victories in those games. So some sense that maybe Bristol City are emerging as a team that I would kind of put in. I've got tiers in this league. My top tier is the year 1 parachute teams, Bournemouth, Watford, Norwich. Then I think I've got Brentford, possibly Swansea, possibly Stoke. I know Brentford are much further down. I'm not sure whether Bristol City are in that tier, which is the playoff chase, or one below. We'll find out. At the moment, you have to put them in that tier, but I do still think they're a little bit off those 3 parachute teams. So with that being said, I'm wondering, and I think they would do it in a quite defensive way and probably nick a goal. I'm wondering whether Watford might get the victory in this one. So I am going to go for, I'm going to go for an away win on the watch along here. I think Bristol City will stay up there and going to be operating between 4th and 8th, 9th at the lowest. But I think these games are going to be tough for Bristol. It's going to be tough for everyone against the year 1 parachute teams, aren't they? So go for an away win there. And look, I'm going to find out firsthand in the watch along, aren't I, on this one. Right, let's move on. And we are looking at Swansea now, who are in the top 6. And I've just said, kind of feel like they're in that bracket with Stoke and Brentford and Bristol City. Maybe Reading. We'll see how they weather their latest storm. As sort of playoff challengers, maybe going against the big 3. We'll see if they remain the big 3. That's where I'm at with them. They play on Wednesday night against Tony Pulis's Sheffield Wednesday. If you look at the table as a single factor analysis, you'd have Swansea winning this game, wouldn't you? But we're not going to do that because hopefully we know a bit more about this division than those people that would just do that. We know that it's a trull. We know that it's a grind. We know that Mr. Pulis has just got his feet in under the table. He lost his first game, but with the mitigating factor of an early red card to Josh Windass in that one. And I think Mr. Pulis, a Welshman, will take great delight in going down to Swansea and trying to shut up shop there and keep it really tight and try and nick a goal. But surely looking at that table as well, he wouldn't be unhappy with a 0-0 or a low score or a 1-1 draw there. Swansea, I think, might still be without Ayew as well. They beat Rotherham at the weekend. They're in decent enough form. Well, they're in good form, actually. Look, 10 points from the last 5. So decent enough is a bit unfair on Swansea. I can just see Mr. Pulis getting out with a point from this one and a low scorer and a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw. So I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Swansea will be favourites and Pulis will probably like that, won't he? So I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday to draw. Right, moving on. And we have to unravel the mystery, or is it even a mystery, of Reading at the moment, because they are on a horrible losing streak, the worst in the division, 4 straight defeats. Derby can muster 3 straight defeats, but not as bad there as Reading's straight 4. And the narrative is that they started the season utterly brilliantly, were up in the table with 7 wins and a draw from the first 8 games. We asked, would it be sustainable? We asked what happens next after, say, 1 of the defeats, 2 of the defeats. It's now stretched to 4 of the defeats, which is very problematic. Now, in the first half of the game against Bournemouth, Reading looked excellent. They looked like the team that had won 7 and drawn 1. Really efficient, really ruthless, got 2 chances, scored both of them. And you think, okay, are they going to stabilise now? But they didn't. They conceded 4 goals in the second half. So that's where we are with Reading. The difficulty here with Millwall is lack of goals, lack of wins, etc. 11 in 12 there for Millwall. Zahor, Smith, Parrott, Bradshaw. Who's going to play up top? Who's going to score? Bodvarsson missed a big chance at the end of that game. So I think you're going to get a bit of a stalemate-ish pattern here. And I hate to say this, Reading fans, but I have an inkling that Millwall might nick this one. I think Reading would much prefer to be going away to a team like a Luton or a Blackburn or a Barnsley there, who might just attack them. Whereas I think a Rowett team, I think Paunovic might struggle with, I think. And I think Millwall can do the business in this one and get the victory, which would mean 5 straight defeats for Reading. Obviously, wouldn't wish 5 straight defeats on anybody, but that is what I'm going to predict. I'm going to go for a Millwall home win in this one. As ever, let me know what you think in the comments. Try and leave your bias at the door. Oftentimes we do disproportionately get supporters of their team predicting victories for their team. So don't always just go with your team. Let's try and be a bit more balanced than that. Middlesbrough versus Derby is our next game. It is 9:50 in the morning as I am filming this right now. We're expecting possibly some movement and some announcement today at Derby with what they're going to do in the immediate term with that managerial position. Obviously, down at the bottom of the table, we are awaiting an announcement on the takeover. That is taking its sweet time. Something today, perhaps. And is it tomorrow they go to this game? I believe, yeah. So maybe we will have something ahead of this game, and they need something, for God's sake. Derby, 1 win in 12, and off they go to Neil Warnock's Borough. Now, I don't foresee a slip from Borough, I have to say. I know it's 2 draws and a defeat. Shall we see who those came against? They came against Brentford, Blackburn and Norwich. Certainly Brentford and Norwich would be tricky opponents for Borough. And they were competitive in the Norwich game, weren't they? And were it not for, who was it, Tavernier slipping from the penalty spot, they would have been in the lead going into the last, I think, 35, 40 minutes of that game. I forget exactly when the penalty was. So can Borough bounce back? I think they can. And perhaps a better fixture for Derby might be at the weekend at home to Wycombe, with possibly a new manager in situ or a new structure in situ, and possibly a new, owners and structure of the club, period. So with that being said, sorry, Derby fans, like Reading fans, I'm going to heap more misery on you, and I'm going to go for Borough to get the win. It's not the place you want to go away to Borough under Warnock when you're in the mode that Derby are in, where there's a lot of chaos and a lack of assurance there. So I'm going to go for a home victory. Right, moving on, and it is Luton versus Birmingham. Luton functioning very nicely in the middle of that table. They couldn't quite get the victory at the weekend against Blackburn Rovers. That one ended in a draw, although the Hatters did have the lead. Birmingham, well, they bored us senseless in that game on Friday night, didn't they, at Coventry? Not to say they couldn't have won it, because I think if Jutkovic had his not shooting boots on, his heading radar on, I think they defended well enough and created enough to have won that game. Birmingham, new signing. I can't remember the name of the player. I wonder if SofaScore have added him to the Birmingham squad. There he is, Alen Halilovic, who we think will possibly end up being the number 10 in a 4-2-3-1. Quite highly rated Croat footballer. Halalovic, if I'm pronouncing that one correctly, might give Birmingham a little bit more sparkle there up the top end of the pitch. That may take a while for him to settle. And we need to give them credit if he does turn out to be a good sign-in. They did this with Jeremy Bella last season, able to pull out a couple of free agents outside of the window 2 years running. You'd have to give a big tick in the box for the Birmingham recruitment, as my mouse does that annoying thing where it has a mind of its own. Luton, well, if we look at the tail of the tape there, only one win in those last 5 games. That came away at Rotherham, which would bode well for them beating Birmingham, wouldn't it? They seem to have been okay with maybe the more pragmatic teams there. Forest there with a draw, Sheffield Wednesday under Monk. Birmingham, will likely be solid and steady in this one. I just wonder whether Luton might have enough of the ball and enough attacking intent to do this. I can go for another home win in this one. Let's back Luton. And we'll see going forward whether Halalovic, I'll work on the pronunciation of that one, can add a bit more to a bit of a toothless attacking situation there at Birmingham. Home win I've gone for there. Luton, as ever, get your predictions in via the comments. Barnsley versus Brentford is a very interesting one in my estimation here, because you have a Barnsley side that's ticking along very nicely and has kind of started to get the results that we suspected they might under Gerhard Struber. But look, that didn't work out and he went off to do New York. But Valerian Ismail, 4 wins in 5, 12 points in those last 6 games, makes Barnsley the form team in the division. So you have a situation where you have a team that's in really nice form against a team that just really hasn't clicked yet. Only 4 victories across those 12 games for Brentford this season. We would have expected more. Only 3 defeats, but look, 1 win in the last 5. Big news was that Pontus Jansson was back for Brentford at the weekend. That helps out at the back. But have they managed to solve the the issues maybe up top with Watkins and Ben Rama going. Look, obviously Tony has scored a ton of goals as the replacement to Watkins, but in terms of Ben Rama, is that issue sorted? I'm wondering, and I looked at this in the last game, whether the fabled 4-3-3 at Brentford might end up now being a 4-2-3-1 with what they've got. Whether Godos, Kanyos and Mbuemo would work better just stacked behind Ivan Toney with then one of De Silva, Jensen, there's Marcondes, Janelt, Norgaard's obviously injured, as a double pivot. I wonder whether they might switch to that or whether they're going to stick with their philosophy and just train someone into Ben Rama's position there. What I will say is there's not much evidence. Normally in the past, we'd have Brentford going to Barnsley and, winning on the basis that Brentford have been excellent the last 2 or 3 seasons. But at this moment in time, I'm not sure that's a certainty. So, do you know what? I'm going to go with the form in the last 5 games. I'm going to go for a Barnsley victory. So I'm going for a lot of home wins. I just think right at this moment in time, obviously Brentford got a lot of excellent players, and we've eulogised about the recruitment and the way that club has developed over the years. Right at this moment, though, is the game tonight or tomorrow? It is tonight. I've just got to make Barnsley favourites, I think. I think they'll be super confident. They've just beaten Forest. They've won 4 in 5. The new managers, everything's hunky-dory. And Brentford quite haven't clicked yet. I think both teams will score. I think it'll be an open game. I'm going to go for Barnsley. Why the hell not, hey? Let's move on. As ever, get your predictions in via the comments. A helpful comment on these videos is I think this is going to happen because rather than some of the more reductive, how can you say that, Ben? How can you say that? Well, I've said it and I've given my reasoning. Now you say your opinion and give me your reasoning. Where were we going next? We were going to Preston versus Blackburn in the sort of northwest Lancashire derby. And another difficult one to call this one. We got 11th versus 13th. We got 12th versus 14th. We had 3rd versus 5th at the top. Tricky this time, as if it ever isn't in the Championship, for goodness sake. Preston got that home monkey off their back, beating Sheffield Wednesday, didn't they? Albeit with a red card in that game. So good news for them. Blackburn, to me, have a little bit the air of punishing those below them without yet going to a difficult game and getting something. And maybe I'm being unfair, and Blackburn fans will give me an example of where they've done that. But I'm just remembering big wins over Derby and Coventry and Wycombe for 9 of those points with red cards, and Derby in a horrible moment there. Elliott is playing really well, so is Armstrong. So expect goals. But I just think with Preston's inability to do much at home against 11 men, I know they won the last game, and Blackburn's inability to win a tight, difficult game, hence why they're 14th at the moment, I think this is going to be a scoring draw. Look, Blackburn have got enough to score against anybody, haven't they, with Elliott and Brereton and Adam Armstrong, top scorer in the division. But I don't think they've got enough to win this game, and I don't think Preston have clicked quite yet. Pearson returning, though, is a good bonus for them over the weekend. So, look, I'm going to go for a draw. Right, we are going next to Cardiff versus Coventry, which, if I flip this button, I can find in SofaScore. Cardiff, underperforming somewhat so far. I'm expecting a pickup from Coventry over the next 9. How big a pickup? I don't know. I just looked at their fixtures and thought, oh, okay, maybe they've had it a little bit tricky. I am concerned for them, however. And they did get dragged through the mud in that awful game against Birmingham at the at the weekend, or on the Friday night, wasn't it? So let's look at the recent games for both and see if that tells us anything. Cardiff drawing at Millwall, losing to Bristol City, beating informed Barnsley, only team to do that. However, it is one win in 7 for Cardiff. It's much worse for Coventry, though. I've got 10 games on my screen there. Coventry as well, if you look up there, go to Norwich at the weekend, which will not be easy. It looked like Neil Harris was trying something new and more, and Glatzel up top in the last game. I'm going to predict an away win here. I'm a bit worried about Coventry. I'm expecting them to turn, but didn't beat Birmingham. This has got the air of Cardiff going there and just grabbing something, hasn't it? And then Norwich at the weekend. So I'm concerned about Coventry staying above that line down the bottom. I know Sheffield Wednesday and the points deduction and Derby's poor form is helping them at the moment. But apologies to Cov fans, because I like the setup. I like the, although they went away from 3 at the back, I'd like the wing backs. Obviously, everyone loves Hamer at the moment. But I'm going to go for an away win. A bit of a surprising one there for Cardiff. Cardiff to go to Coventry and win. Next up, 2 to go, guys, is Wycombe versus Huddersfield Town, which should be an interesting one. I don't know what you're going to get in this one, because Wycombe have actually, at home, drawn to Watford, haven't they? Who did they beat as well? Did they win away from them? We'll have a look at the results. They drew it against Brentford at home. Where's the Wycombe results? There. It beat Sheffield Wednesday. So, in fact, shall I just bring up the home form? Yeah, look, very decent. Unbeaten in the last 3 and the 5 points there. And a good performance against Brentford. Huddersfield is just strange. You don't know what you're going to get. You know, there's that big 3-0 away win there at Millwall, which says that they can go and do bits. And an away win at Swansea as well. And then if you're looking for, are they good against pragmatic teams? Well, yes, they beat Millwall. Or are they good against footballing teams? Yes, they beat Swansea. But then, look, they lost at Birmingham, lost at home to Bristol City. So a little bit unpredictable, I would say, with Huddersfield. With that being said, and with Wycombe looking quite tight at home, I think I'll go for a draw in this one, which would help neither team out. Just on the basis Huddersfield's hard to predict. We know Wycombe will make it tricky for them, and they have been competitive in the past couple of games. But I just can't figure out what Huddersfield are going to do. So I'm going to go for a draw, which leads us to our last game, which is QPR versus Rotherham. And that is 18th place QPR playing against the Millers, who you will see are just next to them in 19th. So many hard ones to call. That's now 3rd versus 5th, 11th versus 13th, 12th versus 14th, and 18th versus 19th. Some idea in this one that Rotherham kind of know what they're doing a bit more than QPR do, in terms of that Rotherham, this team has built over League One and got promoted, and they've just added bits to it. Whereas QPR, obviously, Eze goes out and then a few new players come in, Dickey and Carroll and Dykes and Bon. So there's a sense that they're further down the line. Rotherham, maybe QPR, have a few better players. Bright Samuel, Ilias Chair. And a draw against Watford is no mean feat, isn't it? You would say Watford at the moment is like Rotherham with better players, isn't it? Watford are very tight and solid, but have some Premier League level players still remaining there, whereas Rotherham have come up from League One. So a basic football argument would be, if QPR can draw against Watford, they can beat Rotherham. However, we know that it never, ever, ever works out like that, does it? So the question is, can Rotherham's stability and quick transition and maybe some set plays beat QPR, who are going to be a little bit more expansive and try and move the ball, but will be open because they're a Mark Warburton team. Oh, this is a hard one to call. Look, we haven't had any mad shock ones. I know Rotherham have got a couple of difficult games coming up, and I just hate to predict that we're going to have Coventry and Rotherham, the promoted teams, just slide down into that bottom three. That would be very infuriating if we get just the relegated teams all up at the top and the promoted teams all down at the bottom. So with that being said, and apologies QPR fans, and I haven't predicted a weird one, let's go for a surprise away win for Rotherham in that one. Also, just to even up all the home wins I've picked. Not very scientific approach to this, let's just say. But ho-hum, it's predictions. They're predictions. We're predicting the future, aren't we? So I'm going to go for Rotherham to win at QPR. I always pull one out like that, don't I? Right. That is our predictions. Let's just bring the table up one more time. So the narrative this game week is you have a lot of difficult games to call. 3rd versus 5th, 11th versus 13th, 12th versus 14th, 18th versus 19th. You could have anything happen at the top, especially if Stoke were to beat Norwich. And then you've got Bristol City and Watford playing each other, possibly Bournemouth or Swansea picking up points. It could get even tighter. Or if Norwich and Bournemouth both win and the others don't, you could even get a little stretch away for Norwich and Bournemouth up at the top. Or you could get the 3 parachute teams again, as I'm predicting, might be coming out on top. By the way, I know I've had some people question me on this. I'm not using it as a narrative. I'm not saying the teams are going to be at the top because of the parachute money. I'm saying they have the parachute money and they are there. It's a fact. So I'm not peddling any overarching narrative. I'm just saying those are the teams that are there in 1st, 2nd and 5th at the moment, which is pretty dominant at the top of the league. In the same way, I can say that Rotherham, Coventry and Wycombe are 22nd, 21st and 19th. So they're trending lower and the year one parachute teams are trending higher. We will see at the end of this game week. Remember, nothing settles for long because we'll get it done by Thursday and we'll start another round on Friday. So all will reveal itself going up to Christmas. As ever, get your predictions in. As I always say, it takes a great deal more intelligence and skill to give your own ideology rather than just tearing mine down. So, yes, you can disagree with my predictions. You're more than welcome to. I believe in free speech. But all I'm going to ask you, and save yourself the time, is, okay, what are your predictions then? Because it's... Look, I know I come on YouTube and talk about this. So, yeah, it's okay for you to hold me to that standard. I'm putting myself out there. But I do think it's an unfair standard for me to predict something and you to question me if you're not going to do the same thing as me and make the predictions. So get your predictions in the comments. That makes for a much more fun and balanced and credible debate. We can't have one person giving a position and the other person not, and just attacking the other person's position. I know that happens in a lot of debates, God, particularly through 2020. But let's not have that on the comments on this channel, shall we? Right, there you go. Guys, I've tried to do this on StreamYard this week, so I don't have to go ahead and spend hours making slides. I hope the picture quality has been okay. Sometimes it can be hit and miss, and I don't know until I go back and check it. So fingers crossed on that. Look, if it hasn't been good, I do apologise, and hopefully that's not the case. Thanks again to our fan sponsors, the Donovan brothers, in loving memory of Michael of South East London, lifelong Millwall fan, admirer of this show. They sponsor the predictions right through the season, and good news for them, I've predicted their team, Millwall, to win. Although some people say that's not good news, like my predictions in some way influence the results negatively of their teams. Football fans and superstitions, dearie me. Not the Donovan brothers particularly, just all football fans will find any reason why their team didn't win, even a silly-haired bloke on YouTube predicting the opposite. So here we go to summarise. Stoke versus Norwich, draw. Bournemouth versus Forest, home win. Bristol City versus Watford, away win. Swansea versus Sheffield Wednesday, draw. Millwall versus Reading, home win. Middlesbrough versus Derby, home win. Luton versus Birmingham, home win. Barnsley versus Brentford, home win. Preston versus Blackpool, draw. Coventry versus Cardiff, away. Wycombe versus Huddersfield, draw. QPR versus Rotherham, away. Remember, it's just a bit of fun. Get your own predictions in. I know a lot of football fans have their self-esteem somehow attached to their football team. And when someone predicts that their football team will lose a game, that by extension hurts their self-esteem. Please don't let it hurt your self-esteem. It's just a bit of fun. You can get your own predictions in, and you can predict my team, Ipswich, to lose every single week if you want. And I promise it won't hurt me there. Right, enough rambling from me about the psychology of football fans and the nature of receiving a negative prediction about your team, however much thought has gone into it. That was the preview show for round 13. Again, I will not be here tonight on a watch along. I'm doing Hull and Ipswich for the Blue Monday podcast. I will, however, be back reviewing tonight's games tomorrow morning. That is Wednesday on the channel. And I will be doing a watch along Bristol City versus Watford on the Wednesday night. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Enjoy another game week as we come closer to the end of lockdown and possibly fans in stadiums in some way, shape, form or fashion. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.